Good afternoon, welcome to Pembroke Cookery class. My name is James and today we are going to be cooking something for you guys to try on Valentine's Day. This is a dish that my wife introduced to me a couple of years ago that she cooks at home. It is seafood linguine. Today we are going to be using Piddly Lake trout, which is a local lake. We've got trout from there. That's been filleted and deboned, but you can use salmon from the local supermarket. You can use pretty much any oily fish that you want. Salmon or trout I would recommend. We've got North Atlantic cooked prawns. You can use frozen prawns, you can use clams, you can use some mussels if you're feeling fancy. You can use whatever seafood really you like in this. Or alternatively, if you want, you don't have to use seafood at all. You can just go with the other base ingredients. Obviously, linguine. We've got about 250 grams of linguine here. We've got a couple of small handfuls of spinach. We've got some chili flakes. You can use fresh chili. I like to use dried chili because it gives it a little bit more depth, a little bit more panache in the flavour. We've got some dried herbs. I'm using dried basil, dried tarragon. You can use fresh herbs, you can use any herbs you want really, but tarragon's good with fish. We've got some grated parmesan. You can use any cheese, pecorino, pre-grated, parmesan, whatever you like. We've got a little bit of parmesan there. Salt and pepper as standard. We've got some cherry tomatoes, we've got some garlic, and if you wanted, instead of dry chilies, like I said, you can use a fresh chili and a little bit of lemon just to finish it off once the dish is cooked. So, we're going to start today. We've got a water on over here. That is nearly boiling now. Couple of minutes, that'll be ready to drop the pasta. I've got a frying pan for the prawns. That is to fry the prawns with some garlic. And we've got the oven set to 170 degrees for the trout. So, what we're going to do, we're going to start, we're going to get our trout, a nice bit of olive oil, give that a good drizzle, give it a good season with some salt and some pepper. And then those herbs we were talking about earlier on, chuck those on there. And just rub it around, make sure everything's coated. You want to mop up all that seasoning. Everything nicely coated in the olive oil. Lovely. We'll chuck that in the oven. It's going to take, for this piece of fish here, 4 or 5 minutes. If you're using salmon, the fillet's going to be a little bit bigger, I would imagine. It's going to take maybe a bit longer, 8 to 12 minutes, depending on the size of the fish. I'm going to chuck that in, put a timer, 4 minutes, done. Pasta. Grab your pasta, 2 hands, one at the top, one at the bottom, over the water, give it a twist, drop it in. 7 minutes, that's done. Right, next, get your olive oil, get your prawns. You want to cook everything in a nice hot pan. It doesn't need to be smoking hot, but it needs to be hot so that once you put your ingredients in, they start cooking straight away. If you're using a cold pan, it takes longer to heat up, it's just not quite right. So make sure your pan's nice and hot, which we are there. Good amount of olive oil in, say a tablespoon's worth. Grab your garlic, half the amount of garlic you prepped, chuck that in the pan. That's going to take a few minutes just to get sizzling. Move it around, don't let it burn, you don't want it to go crispy, you just want to keep it nice and soft. Just when that starts to cook, you'll see it simmering a little bit in the oil. So that is starting to now. Once that is cooked for a little bit, we'll add the prawns. So we've got our trout in the oven now, it's got about 2 or 3 minutes left. We've got our pasta in the water, so that's got another 4 or 5 minutes left. Prawns are going in a second, that's going to take another 3 or 4 minutes, so it's all coming together at a similar time. And that is sizzling quite nice. Chuck those prawns in. At this point, I'm going to grab salt and pepper, grab the chili flakes. Get those chili flakes on those prawns. You want to cook this chili into the prawn, into the oil, into the garlic, so all those flavours start marinating together, combining, fusing. It's going to taste real good. A little bit of seasoning, a bit of pepper, boom. Let that cook away for a few minutes. a minute at most. Okay, so our trout is cooked, 4 or 5 minutes in the oven, that's ready to go. Going to leave that there for a second. It doesn't matter if it cools down a little bit, we're going to bring it back up to temperature in a moment. Prawns are pretty much there as well. They're nicely cooked, steaming away. You can see the chilies all in there with the garlic all mixed together. Okay, lovely. Set that aside. Now, we're just waiting for the pasta to finish cooking. Just check it. You want something like linguine. If it's snapping, if it's a bit firm in your hand, don't burn yourself. I've got asbestos fingers, so it's not so bad for me. Just be careful when picking it out. You want a very minimal crunch to it. This is not quite ready yet. My Italian friends would murder me if I overcooked it. It's always better, really, for this dish to undercook the pasta because you're going to drain it. It's still got residual heat in it, so it's going to keep cooking for a few more minutes, even after you've drained it out of the water. So, last thing you want to do really is overcook it. Probably another minute or two on that. Okay, so I think we're there with the pasta. Just going to check that now. Yeah, that feels about ready. Lovely. So, turn that off. Just going to drain a little bit of water out of here before I drain it. Drain your pasta off. Be careful. Drain it into a colander. Or if you haven't got a colander, you can just use a slotted spoon or a fork or tongs or something to pull it out of the water. You want to keep this pan, let it dry itself with the steam. Get your pasta. Grab a little bit of that lovely olive oil and just give that a little dousing in there. That stops the pasta from drying out, sticking together and becoming all clumpy. Alright, that's it, that's fine for a few minutes. Now what we're going to do, get this pan back on that you used to do your pasta. It's already quite hot. And a good glug, say a good 2 tablespoons of nice olive oil in there. Let that get warm. Take your cherry tomatoes that have been halved. Once this is warm, get in there, chuck that in. And if you're feeling like you want a little bit more garlic, chuck a bit more garlic in there. You don't have to use loads of garlic, it depends on what you like. If you don't like it too strong, you don't have to use it all. You want it nice and hot. You want those tomatoes to start searing straight away. You can hear it probably going a bit crazy. So just control the heat, make sure you're moving it around. Then get your pasta, chuck that straight in. Get your spinach, chuck that straight in. Go all of it. Let's not be shy. Give that a good mix. Watch it doesn't stick. Now, trout earlier on. You've got the skin on this trout. What you're going to want to do, just flake it up. Probably do it with my hands here, just show you nice and quickly. Just drop that in. Nice flakes. Big, small. You're going to mix it around, so it's going to break up a little bit more. So don't worry if the chunks are too big. It's on fire. Get that in there. Lovely. Turn that off. You've got that all cooking away, getting nice and warm again. Chuck in your prawns. Lots of garlic in there, lots of flavour in that oil. Get all of that in there, that is the goodness, that is what you want. Chuck that in, give it a mix. A couple of plates to serve it on. Okay, we're nearly there, a couple more seconds, break up a little bit of that fish that's in there. Finally, before we plate it up, salt. pepper, a little bit of salt, mix. Right, I'm going to plate this up. If you've got a fork, you can use a fork. I've got tongs, so I'm going to use those. You want to sort of grab it and twist a little bit, pick up some of that pasta, twist it onto the plate. Drop it on, twist it on. Probably not going to get much of the goodness, much of the prawns and the trout when you use the tongs, but you can spoon those on afterwards. Just like that. Now you can't see what I'm doing here, but I'll show you in a second. It's quite simple, quite tasty, lovely dish. Nice and romantic for Valentine's Day. If you've got someone special you want to show off, this is the perfect dish. Plated up, a little bit of grated parmesan over the top. That's it, ready to eat. Lovely. Have a look at that. Ready to go. Right, thank you for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed this cooking class. I'm sure we'll be doing it again. If there's anything you want to learn how to cook, anything you want to know how to do, please don't hesitate to ask. We'll be in contact somehow, sure, and we'll do it in the future. Thank you very much.